Section 1.5, Construct Graphs. In Section 1.2, we learned how to read all the graphs and analyze, and in this section, we're going to be constructing the same graphs that we learned. The first thing we see is construct a bar graph. Here's the information. It says the school pulled students in a math class to vote for their favorite mascot color. The vote was as follows: 5 for red, 3 for orange, 8 for teal, and 2 for green. Given the following color count, construct a bar graph based on the given categories. Read the table carefully and label your axis and title the graph. So I want you to note sometimes things can be given to you in the sentence. And in this case, we have the same information here. So that's really neat that you kind of got an organized data. Remember that a bar graph is going to have categories. Here we'll have the categories, no numerical data. Let's get started. A bar graph has bars, right? I hope you remember that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is come in and label my categories. Now you kind of have to decide, are you going to put your bar, for example, here on the line itself, or are you gonna have enough space to do this? Remember that your bar graphs should not touch. Let's put that up here. Bars should not touch. You space out your bars accordingly. How many bars do we need? We need 4. Let's go ahead and put these, let's say we start here to here, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That looks pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to put is red, orange, teal, and green. So what kind of process did I go through? Is that important? Yeah, it's you organizing your information. This is you presenting your data to the world. So it has to be organized so that the reader can read it. If it's messy, if it's ugly, people are not going to be interested in reading your graph, right? So let's make sure that we're keeping that nice and neat. All right, so red. We want to know how tall. So now comes the part about organizing your y-axis. So our y-axis is going to have the count here. If the color was on this side, on the x-axis, your count will be on the y-axis. How do you want to count? Do you want to count by 1? So this will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe you wanted your counts to look bigger, for example, to be more clear. Sometimes you read a graph and it's tiny, right? Sometimes some y-axis will also go in 2s, and it kind of allows you or the reader to have more space. I'm going to stick to the 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. But all of these are your decisions. You could have put 1, 2, 3, 4. You could have made it smaller, bigger, whatever your choice is. So we have red is going to be 5, and I'm going to go up to 5 and bring my bars down. I think this is the easy part and the part you guys might be used to. Orange is 3, so I'm going to go to 3 and bring that down. If I was writing on paper, I think I would have taken out my ruler. So I encourage you to do that too. Teal is 8, going all the way up to 8. And green is 2. Wow. I have all of these. Beautiful. So let's take a look at part A, which says the same thing. It says label your bar graph's title, x-axis, and y-axis. Place the values above the rectangles on the graph. So let's label our, everything over here looked a little bit messy. Let's label these. This is the x-axis. And this was our categories, which are color. This one up here is our y-axis, which is our count. So our x-axis is labeled, our y-axis is labeled. It needs a title. What kind of title could you give this? This is the school polled students in a math class to vote for their favorite mascot color. So I'm going to label this favorite mascot color. And your title should be something that gives insight to the reader about what your graph is about. So you can't just label it color, right? Because that wouldn't make sense. Like, what is happening with the color, right? You can't just label it mascot or favorite. It has to be a combination of these words that make sense for a person to kind of create a scenario. Let's go ahead and place the values above the rectangles on the graph. So they want us to label it for the reader, right, to be able to easily read it. I will give you the opportunity to try these questions since we had already learned to read bar graphs.